Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to another episode of the Smart Flip with me. Matt is out doing some family stuff today, so it's just me today with Ricky from G1 Tech out there in Dallas, Texas. Guys, before we get started, just so you guys are aware, we do have some free stuff below. We got the free school community, or what I like to call the banning community, because if you join that community, you got 5 days to finish the course, and if you don't, you actually get banned from the community. So make sure to go into
That's
that.
good.
And it's definitely helped a lot of people actually start taking things seriously and take action. So if you're one of those people that needs a little bit of motivation, that's definitely the course to join. We got a bunch of other resources and stuff in the description and everything below, whether you're on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. So make sure to check out all of that stuff. And if you guys don't know who I am, my name is Chris. I've been helping people start, grow, and scale phone flipping businesses and buyback businesses for quite a while now. You can read a little bit about me below. But we're just gonna kickstart the episode here, guys. Do the YouTube thing that you're supposed to do, like, subscribe, all that jazz. But we're gonna actually get into talking about real stuff now. So, Ricky, how you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Doing great, dude. Glad to have you here. I see you're out there
Good.
at Starbucks right now.
Yes, sir.
You're
Yes,
out
sir.
doing pickups?
Actually, I have a partner of mine who's doing my pickups nowadays. So I don't really do as many. I really just came to the Starbucks to get out of my home. So that way, there's a lot going on and things like that. I got family in the house, so my son running around, So I just wanted to kind of get into an environment that I can, be able to focus and not have
Yeah,
too many distractions.
for sure, bro. All right, man. Well, so man, we met up at the Gadget Repair Expo. And dude,
Yes,
you're
sir.
crushing it. Like you got a whole team now, it sounds like. You got people picking up devices for you and are you still doing any of the pickups yourself now?
Yeah, so I do have a partner of mine. So I don't call my team employees. Um, I don't call my teammates employees.
That's awesome.
I actually consider them to be my teammates, because we pretty much operate, as a team. So, yes, I do have a teammate. He does do a lot of my pickups. I do pickups from here and there, but for the most part, I'll usually schedule my pickups around the time frames that I need him to be available to do pickups. But yeah, I still do pickups. I don't have a full team. I'm actually in the process of hiring about three more people. Majority virtual. Um, to kind of fill in some different slots. But yeah, I do some pickups here and there.
Gotcha, dude. Awesome. So what's it like having a team now? Like your partners in your business, and I know um yeah, let's just talk about it. Like what's that feel like?
To be honest with you, it's the best feeling in the world. As you know, and as I know, this business can be extremely busy. And it can get. I heard Matt say this the other day, or actually, I think I heard Dakota say this because I was watching his episode yesterday, and he was just saying, this business eventually does outgrow. No, actually, it was RJ. I believe it was RJ. And that was a great podcast, by the way. RJ, that's
Yeah,
my
it
guy.
was.
He said that this business outgrows, one to two people quickly, and even three people. So having a team is just more so it's helped me to kind of avoid burnout. I went through a lot of burnout, being a one man operation and running my business and wearing every single hat.
Yeah.
I had went through a process of hiring family and friends for the most part. Just because you have to be able to trust people with your money, whenever you're starting to have a team. So that was important to me. And I wanted to provide opportunity for those around me to, be able to provide for their families. So having a team has really just been the best thing. I've been able to travel more and, spend more time and stuff like that, doing different things that are going to actually grow and scale the business. And I've been able to take a step back and really, put a real strategy in place to create real longevity and a solid foundation. So that's the perks and the benefits of having a team. The training uh, is a real learning curve, to say the least. The training is probably the most challenging.
Yeah.
Creating SOPs and things of that nature. Having a standard procedure that they're going through day in and day out. Providing resources for them that they can be that they can operate independently. You know, the goal and the point of having a team was for them to be able to operate without asking me 20, 30 questions a day,
Yeah.
right? But in the beginning, you know, it's kind of inevitable that they're going to have a lot of questions, a lot of transitions. It's a lot of skills that they developing that we took years to learn, and they pretty much having to learn them, you know, within a 2 month time frame, you know, 2 to 3 month time frame, and you know that takes time to develop and you know really kind of build those skills enough to where you can really trust them because you don't want to put them in a field and they kind of sabotage the business.
Yeah.
So I've just learned a lot about having a team and a lot of mistakes that I made early on. And you know, it's a learning curve, it's a process, but having a team has been the best thing, honestly, that I could have that I never thought about doing in the beginning. I always wanted to operate as a one man show until I just had no choice.
Yeah, that makes sense, dude.
Yeah.
So hiring is definitely challenging. It was one of the most difficult things that I ever had to learn how to do. Um,
I
but
agree.
I recently we're finishing up Buyback Revolution, my new book, and I had to hire somebody yesterday or 2 days ago to help me with the formatting, with the book cover, with actually putting it on Amazon, where people can actually purchase it, right? Like not an ebook this time, like an actual physical book. And my hiring process for that was different than most. I'm very big on so I use Upwork for a lot of my VAs and people that help me. So what I did is I put out a job application, right? And then here's what a lot of people don't do. People will put out a job application and read like the summary of what the person, said or their resume and stuff like that. I actually don't
Hmm.
do that.
Hmm. Yeah.
I'll put out the job application. So I had 35 people apply for the job, right? Um,
Yeah.
and here's something a lot of people don't do is I send out a filter message before. Like
Hmm. What do
once
you
I
get?
get the 35 app or once I got 35 applications, I'm like, I didn't expect to get that many, to be honest with you. I
I
was like,
imagine. Yeah.
that's a lot. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
But I sent out a filter message that was like, hey, just wanted to reiterate, here's what I'm looking to do. And I was like, I need you to answer these three questions either in a Loom video or a voice memo back to me. And
Hmm.
I was just like, um, what would you do differently here? Um, what specific actions would you take on this? And then there was a third question on top of that. What does that do? It filters out half of the people, dude. Like
Right.
half the people that won't do a damn thing. And then I ended
Yeah.
up, and that filtered out probably 20 people actually, and it left me with like 15. And then my next filter was, all right, cool, because I set the whole day for like
Hmm.
interviews, and I was like, can you hop on a Zoom right now? That
Hmm.
shows that they're fast.
Initiative.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it shows
Yeah.
initiative.
Initiative. And
So,
you know, it's just important because you know, and I know we're gonna get into like you know my story. We probably jumping
mhm,
kind of far ahead down my journey, because
yeah.
I definitely didn't start here, and you know, I do want to. I know we're gonna go back and touch base on
Oh
stuff
yeah,
like
for
that,
sure.
but just to kind of touch on what you just said, you know, being at where I'm currently at, and through the past few years of having you know teammates and operating different things and doing different things, having different mentors and teaching me different tips about you know developing a team, you know, my biggest challenge was hiring people who weren't necessarily qualified to do the jobs that I needed them to do, and me having to mold them into you know what I needed them to be, and you know them having certain glimpses of abilities that they can do, but like you said, taking them through that process of kind of onboarding and hiring, that's probably the first mistake that I should have done. Um, so that's probably the first step that I actually should have done was create a process for like intaking and onboarding these people.
Well,
um,
I
but
think
it was friends and family, so you know, I just kind of, you know, we still new entrepreneurs to this thing, so you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, and that's the point, right? Is like you're going to make those mistakes, just like we bought bad phones and stuff in the very beginning.
Yeah.
By the way, dude,
Hmm.
I can hear the cups and stuff slamming in the background. If you want to
Yeah, I
move
see.
outside, it's all good.
They got
It
a
was
few.
quiet in the beginning, and then it wasn't.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on, but that's fine. I'll move back out.
Yeah, but
Um,
yeah, we can continue the conversation. But like, a lot of people think like you're going to get your first couple of hires right when
Hmm.
that's not necessarily true, right? Like it's just like buying your first couple of phones, like you're going to mess up, and that's just the game. Is like you're going to mess up on your first couple of phones. You're going to mess up on your first couple of hires most of the time. And that's okay. That's all right. Like a lot of people make mistakes, and I mean, making mistakes is part of the journey anyway. So I think that's an important piece that most people don't realize is like make the mistake. You're going to make mistakes either way in some capacity. You might as well make them sooner than rather than later. So, but dude,
I agree 100%.
I do want to back up. I want to go
Okay.
back to, man, I believe it was 2020. Man, we've been talking for a long time at this point. Um,
Yeah,
I think like I
definitely.
remember when you were messaging me and like you were talking about joining Reccelerator oh so long ago. Uh,
Man, that was ridiculously long ago. That's crazy.
it's yeah you were on the fence for I think probably about a year, messaging me every now and
Definitely.
then, asking for a little help
Definitely.
and everything.
You know
And
what it was though?
what was
I was YouTube University
it?
alumni. Like, I mean, I'm a YouTube University alumni. Like, I've studied so much on YouTube and so much information online that I felt like I had like a personal relationship with you. Cause okay, so to back up and kind of touch a little bit for like people who are newer and coming in, when I was starting off and working my job, I literally created. So I had started so many different businesses, and we can go back and touch on that. But like kind of my journey and the progression. But just to touch on this part right here, I used to create playlists. Well, I had a playlist for phone flipping businesses. I watched all of the YouTubers, I watched everybody's videos, and I just used to be at work. Before I went to work, during work, and after work, I would be listening to this playlist all day and just shuffling it through different videos. But the benefit of your profile was that you had probably like 100 videos. So it's like I was able to just go
Yeah.
back and watch over and over and over and over again. And I just used to watch the same videos a lot of times. Some days I might need motivational things. Some days I needed the skill sets. Some days I needed, applicable steps and stuff like that. Some days I just needed to hear you just talk about, you know, the business as a whole, and certain things like sticking with one thing and not bouncing back and forth. Like I needed to hear those types of things over and over and over again. So by the time it came time to pull the trigger, it was a no-brainer. It was a no-brainer. So I had already built up a lot of trust from your podcast. I mean, your YouTube channel. You had already delivered so much value that I felt kind of like I owed you the money. Like I was already making money off a lot of information from a lot
Yeah.
of other guys. I already had courses and stuff like that, but it just helped me to tie a lot of information in, and you approached it from a little bit more of a different, standpoint than other people. So it was it was definitely beneficial when I got into the program for sure.
Well, I'll be real with you. With the YouTube channel, man, I was basically documenting my own journey as I was
Hmm.
as I was going, right?
Yeah.
Like the Facebook ad videos that I put up, that was what was working for me at the time. And for me, I don't know why, but like I've always just documented. And I actually looked at my YouTube channel the other day and I was like, damn, 2,000 videos? Like, what? Like, I
And
know a
that's a
lot,
lot of
like
content
half of
that you
that
put out.
is reels and stuff, but like, I was just like, dang, that's like a lot, you know?
Yes, sir.
It like looking back and I was just like, yeah, but like one of the ways that I digest information really well is like I learn the information, I apply the information, and then I teach the information. And
Hmm.
that it's like a full circle thing, right? And that's why a lot of my systems and processes and stuff usually work out so well, is because I
Hmm.
not only learned them, I've then done them, and then I've taught them, and it comes full circle. That way, I'm able to gather a layer of feedback that most people never get. A lot of people
Hmm.
out there will come up with a process, not test it, and then just sell
Hmm.
it, right? Like that's
Hmm.
what
Yeah,
most of
yeah,
the
yeah.
course communities are, right? Um,
Right.
like I know I might be somewhat slower than most people at putting out stuff, but there's a
But
reason
it's
for
more
that. Is
quality.
like I want to make sure my stuff actually works before,
Hmm.
I get roasted in a Facebook group for something not working.
Right.
Um,
Kind of like with this podcast, we've been speaking on me getting onto this podcast for a little while, but I just kept like, let me work on this, let me get on that, just because I wanted to be able to speak on certain things that I
yeah,
wanted to be coming from a place of, authenticity. So I don't like speaking on things that I've never done or I have no idea about. That's just not how I like to operate. So, um, but yeah, so we can kind of get into,
yeah. Let's
my
start
joy,
back
my journey, my
2020.
story.
Let's give people your story, man. Let's go back in time
Man,
and start there.
2020, man. So, so my entrepreneurship journey started when I was pretty young. Um, I was the kid in school that used to sell candy, even though you weren't supposed to.
Hmm.
Surprisingly enough, I actually used to sell candy to the teachers as well. I guess I was a good salesman. But so I had always kind of had an entrepreneurial journey, or excuse me, entrepreneurial kind of spirit. I had started multiple businesses. Just to kind of make a long story short, I started multiple businesses around 2020. I was, pandemic had hit. I was going through a lot of different things. I had a son, and I also had a son on the way. So obviously, my motivation was, taking care of my children. And I want to touch on this real quick, especially early in the video, because a lot of people, skip out once kind of they get like 10 minutes in. But at that time, the first thing that I feel like a lot of people missed out on or they don't really focus on was having a strong why. I had a very strong why. Um, and that's what's helped me to get through the business as far as I've had, as far as I've come now, and just through entrepreneurship as a whole, because I always had a strong why of, family. For most guys, they might be younger, they may not have children and stuff like that, but I did have children young, so I just, I knew that I had to do something to take care of my children. And obviously everybody's motivation is to not be broke. So, I was going through a lot of different businesses. I tried out everything. I wound up actually getting into the flipping electronics really through I was looking in the phone repair. I actually came across Felding. I seen the phone flipping stuff a couple of times, but um, you know, I had seen the diabetic test strips as well, and I kind of just got into all three of those around the same time. Um, from Feldon's course, I kind of stumbled into the phone flipping as well. He had another person's course in there for flipping because he did repairs. So I got into her course, and I just applied the information. I applied the information. I kept going. I learned the basics. Back in that time, it was Facebook ads and free ads and market. Oh man, like new guys don't understand. Like those days back then was different. And I got
It
the end of that. So I really didn't even get the full experience of it. But man,
was a
it
different
was just
time,
so
dude.
easy to get leads back then. It was free. Like we wasn't spending money on ads. It was just ridiculous. And it just was crazy. So, I got into the courses. I started applying a lot of the information, the basics. I made a lot of mistakes. I lost money. You buy things as iCloud lock, you buy stuff and you get all of these deductions. You start realizing like it's so many deductions that you have to watch out for and pay attention to. So, I just went through my journey of the learning curve of inspecting devices, quoting things wrong, over quoting, losing phones. Like I'd have lost phones, bad inventory management, bad tracking. I mean, it was ridiculous. But ultimately, I had that strong why, so everything kept me going. Um, and I just pretty much continued to go through the process. I was working my job. And I was looking for another opportunity on the side, so I kept trying out different little flips and hustles and stuff like that till I came across this. I actually started the business to get my CDLs. So, um, I started this business as a side hustle to get my CDL. At the time, I was day trading. I was trying to day trade. I was trying to start like a dispatching company for trucking. I
Yeah.
was trying to do affiliate marketing, drop shipping. I was trying to do Amazon FBA. I was trying to do you name it. I probably tried to do it. House flipping, wholesaling, uh, tax deed. I mean everything. Like I was trying to do everything. You know what I'm saying? So
Well, I think
I
that's
seen
pretty
pallet
important, though.
flipping.
Yeah.
Oh man, I was trying to I went down a rabbit hole ridiculously. Day trading. So day trading was a little tougher of a skill. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try kind of supplement by doing the flipping thing. I was working my job and I was realizing like, man, I'm only making like $90 a day, $96 a day. I'm making like $12 an hour. And one day I had went and picked up a deal. This was actually about 2022. No, yeah, about 2022. early 2022, and I had made that deal. I had made like $100 in like 10 minutes. And I realized to myself, it just clicked in my head, like it would have took me that whole 8 hours of being on the truck, moving furniture, 100 degrees, $12 an hour, being talked to crazy by people, managers, just it was ridiculous. So I just was like, wow, this is crazy. Like I just sat down and made this much money in a fraction of the time that it would have taken me to do this at my job. So I still had the mindset that I wanted to go ahead and get my CDL because I wanted to have a solid skill underneath myself to be able to take care of my children, have a solid skill to rely on. But of me just doing the business and just learning the skills, reinvesting, I would invest into this course, apply it, invest into that course, apply it, and every course kind of was missing one thing. So I kind of just pieced it all together from multiple courses, multiple videos, multiple different, places. And I was about 8 months into working my job, and I actually had quit. I had stacked up about $2,000. I knew I needed about 2,000 for my CDL. Stacked up about $2,000. I had quit my job because I knew I had the side hustle of making some money in between me going to school for the trucking. So my goal was to flip while I was going to school for like 2 months. I knew that I had enough room to, the first month I went out, I made like $3,000. Actually, the second day after I quit my job, August 2nd, 2022. On the third, I had made like $300. So I said, okay, first day after the job quit, I made $300. I'm feeling okay, but I'm like, all right, it's cool. I had already been flipping up until then, so I would catch people after work. I would catch people before work. I would wake up really early before I go to the job, and I would invest into myself before I go to the job. I would invest in myself first before I invest into someone else's business. So I would make sure to get up 2 hours early to wake up, do my morning routine, do a personal development process, and then I'm studying the information. I'm posting my ads. I'm putting this stuff out before I go to work. I'm responding to leads. I'm posting stuff on Facebook Marketplace. We was doing reach outs and stuff like that back then. We don't do reach outs now, but I'm actually incorporating that back soon. So ultimately, when I had quit the job, second day I made like 250, like 150. I was like, okay, it's cool. Third day I made like another $200. I said, okay. And then about 3 days after that, I didn't make nothing. So then I was like, oh, you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, hold on. I don't know if I just got lucky or if this.
Uh-huh.
So long
Yeah.
story short, I went through some cash restraints and stuff like that because I was doing a lot of shipping at the time. My capital was kind of low. Um, you know, but I was closing deals. I was missing deals because I also didn't have the cash to do it. So, I would go to friends, family and say, hey, you know what? I can flip your money. You can give me this much. I'll bring you back that much. I was just hustling. So,
Yeah.
um, basically I ended up staying full time. By the end of the month, I had paid all of my bills. And I said, you know what? Okay, cool. So second month, same thing. I kind of went through the struggles. You go through a week of being completely slow, but then the next week you make a full week's worth of money and make up for the previous week.
Yep.
So I just started to understand the cycle. Like you're not going to make money every single day, but by the end of the week, I had to give myself a long enough time frame. By the end of the week, I should hit this,
Yeah.
not day by day. And every single day I woke up and I focused on the process every day. A lot of guys, I feel like, especially whenever they, just eager and, it's so much different information about how you can get rich quick and the
Yeah.
fast money schemes with the business. So I had already been through entrepreneurship long enough to kind of go through them phases of quick money and being slapped in the face and running into brick walls for 2 years. So by that time, I had already set in my mind, you know what, whatever I do, I'm willing to put in an entire year of it without even seeing no return. Once I made that up in my mind that I'm willing to put in an entire year or two without any return to really just lay a foundation, that's when I really started to see success. And I stopped bouncing back from thing to thing to thing because I realized that had I just stuck with the first thing that I did, which was maybe affiliate marketing or whatever, by the time I looked up 2 years gone by, I had bounced between 20 different things. I was like, wow, if I'd have just stayed in that first or second thing for 2 years, I tried to do fitness, personal training. If I'd have just stayed in that first business all of this time, I probably would already be successful in it. So I just realized that I wasn't giving myself a long enough time frame to actually master and develop the skills. So
I want to I want to
um
I want to stop right there real quick because that what you just said is incredibly powerful. Like
mhm,
you said I'm going to give this thing 2 years despite what the return could be, right?
right.
Like and that's where a lot of people miss it. Like they'll start this side hustle and if they don't make money in like week 1 or day 1, they quit, right? I call
Absolutely.
it so there's I learned this from Hormozy. He calls it the Valley of Despair chart. And
Yep.
basically what happens, it's this like graph, right? And the graph starts with like an uphill and then it goes down to like a valley. And then like once you break through the valley is where you hit the success, right? But like the very first
Right.
part of it is always like um uh man, I'm trying to remember the actual words right now. I can't remember the
What is it? Optimism, and then you go through like
uninformed optimism is the first one.
uninformed
So
optimism.
that's
Right.
basically where you get like your first win, right?
Hmm.
And you make like $150 in profit, right? Like you do something cool like that. Then you get like to the top of the hill. Maybe you've gotten a couple deals under your belt, and then you get to informed pessimism. And then that's basically what I call in like layman's terms, like, oh, this isn't as easy as I expected, right? And then like once you learn that, you learn basically the dark side of the business. And this is
Absolutely.
any business, by the way, guys. Any business you start, you're going to go through this process. You get to that informed pessimism start where you're like, oh, wow, this isn't as easy as I expected it to be. And then you get to the bottom,
Right.
which is called the Valley of Despair. It's like you go through
Right.
this like no man's land kind of thing where it's just you and only you kind of understand you, basically, and what's
For
going on.
sure.
And this is where a
And
lot
you
of people
feel so
quit.
alone. You feel so alone.
Yeah.
You feel like
And
you're the
it's
only person going through it.
exactly. That's why community is huge, by the way. Like,
Community is powerful.
but like a lot of people quit, and I actually added a piece to this graph where people at the Valley of Despair, I give them like two ways they can go. They can either go up the hill to success by putting the reps in, or
Hmm.
they can spit back out on the bottom, and basically they go through the hamster wheel of shiny object syndrome again, which is what you did,
Hmm.
right? Like
Right.
I did it
And
too.
a lot of people give up, and it goes back to that strong why. Like that
Yeah.
was the that's that cycle of constantly wanting to give up, and because you just keep going through this cycle of trying, failing, jump to something else, try, fail, jump to something else, and you don't realize that if you had just continued to move and endure through the failures, that success was on the other end. Everything that you want is on the other side of fear.
Mhm.
And the scariest thing is to try to keep doing something when you've seen that you failed. That's one of the scariest things in the world. So, for a lot of the guys listening, especially newer guys, or even guys like myself who've been doing it a little longer, and we all reach levels of fear. Even at my level now, I'm still experiencing fear going to the next level of
Yeah.
wanting to scale into a store location, wanting to scale into having a full blown team, multiple teammates and things of that nature. So, you know, but having that strong why is powerful. I think it was a guy. He said, "He who has a strong why can bear anyhow."
Yeah.
I forgot where that quote comes from. He who has a strong why can bear anyhow, and he that is faithful with little is faithful with much. So you have to be faithful with the little bit, the little bit of success and progress that you gain, and know that, and this isn't a religious thing, but it's just spiritual, it's just universal. If you're faithful with the little that you have, and you maximize the opportunities that the universe, God, whatever you believe in, puts in front of you now, you know, and you be a good steward over that, and you continue to move in an energy and a vibration of abundance, and I can do this, or there's plenty of opportunity out here for me, and you continue to maneuver with that type of energy and mindset, you will continue to attract more opportunities to you. You will continue to, you know just find more opportunity. It's ridiculous how it works, but it's kind of crazy. Like, honestly, I didn't see myself having as much success as I had as quick as I did. Literally, the third month after I went full time, I made my first like $12,000 a month. Had I stayed at my job and I was afraid and I didn't jump, I'm a little more risky than everybody else. I jumped multiple times and started businesses, so it wasn't really a problem to me. I knew I could just go get another job. It wasn't. It's not like it was a high skilled job. I can just go and get that same type of job anywhere, warehouse. Like, you can go get $12 an hour. Moving company, things like that. Like, so I was willing to jump, but imagine if I didn't. Imagine if I didn't jump, and imagine if I was too afraid. I would have never hit that $12,000 a month. I wouldn't even have been available to go and do as many deals that it took for me to actually hit that profit, because I'd have been at work.
Yeah.
At that point, I had already been 8 months into this particular business, but I had started back into it from January, and then by August, I had went full time just because I jumped. And I was probably only making like 2,000, maybe like an extra $2,000 in profit a month. You know what I'm saying? Two, maybe three. You know what I mean? Because I was also still dibbling, dabbling, and kind of, you know, I didn't have as much time to pretty much invest into it.
Yeah.
But by the time I hit that month, I was like, okay, yep. At that point, I had already had the starter kit. When I went full time, I knew, okay, well, this is time where on the
Oh,
slower
that's
days,
right. You
I
were
was
in the
like, all right, well,
starter
maybe
kit,
I
weren't
should do
you?
right on the.
Totally
I
forgot you
got
were
into
in that program.
I got into the starter kit whenever I quit. I went full time, and I knew, okay, when I started having slow days, I was like, all right, now it's time for me to go ahead and invest into, uh, another program to get more information, as well as I wanted to start jumping into consoles because I was like, the phones and stuff is moving slow. That was when Matt and everything had kind of just came out with everything, and you
Yeah.
guys had just linked up. So then I went in and started doing the consoles. I made a couple flips on that, but I was in the process of maybe I should do repairs, maybe I should do this, but by the time that next month hit and I was just consistent with the flipping, I said, you know what, the flipping is enough. I don't need to do repairs, you know? And now my mindset is just mastering the basics. Like stick to the fundamentals. You don't have to overcomplicate the process. And
Yeah.
a lot of us try to do that. I tried to overcomplicate the business too many times. Now my mind is just about simply simplification. Simplify and scale. You know what I mean? Excuse me for the truck and the vehicles going by,
Oh, I
but
didn't hear him.
I'm
It's
just
all good.
simplifying scale.
Yeah, you're good.
Um, so now my main goal is just keeping it simple, but I don't want to bounce back and forth too much. But basically, long story short, I stayed full time. I reinvested back into myself as I was going full time. I went through all of the emotions, the ups and downs, the fear, the slow weeks, the slow months, but I stayed consistent. Every day I woke up and I focused on the process. I focused on developing the skills. I focused on making sure I posted my ads. I focused on reaching out to my customers. I focused on following the negotiation scripts. I focused on those different things. Now, what I didn't do, I wasn't tracking my numbers.
And I don't know how many times we had calls where we talked
Oh
about
my God. I
that.
wasn't tracking my numbers. I didn't track my inventory properly. Now I have wholesale. Wholesale is amazing. Anybody who's not using wholesale, use wholesale,
That's funny.
please. Your life is going to change. I wasted so much time managing inventory, losing phones, losing devices. Got to go back and do a full count of 30, 40, 50 pieces. Make sure just to see if one is missing. 10 of them haven't been updated on the sale price in my spreadsheet. They even sold on eBay 2 weeks ago. I never went back and updated. Now I got to go back, go through eBay, find it. Like, it's just, please use a solid inventory management system. um, please. I don't care if you're new, if you're seasoned, please use a solid inventory management system. Resale deck I did not utilize. So once I had finally reinvested, I had that $12,000 a month, 13,000 a month. Then I had at that point, I was like, you know what, now it's time to go ahead and get with Chris. I'm ready to go ahead and spend whatever I was going to spend at that time. And you kind of helped me to transition out of that. You gave me a structure. Resale deck was very powerful. It gave me a real CRM, even though I didn't hardly use it. It came with a website. It came with Google Ads. I didn't get verified by Google. I faced so many troubles going through that, and I'm still actually in the process of now about to go ahead and get everything verified. But yep. So investing into the course, it really had gave me structure. By that time, I was about 3 or 4 months in full time. I was already making money. I had multiple different courses. I had kind of gotten down a little process of inspecting and selling devices. You had pushed me kind of into selling on eBay, so that was real big for me at that time.
Yeah.
eBay helped me scale tremendously. Um,
Take note,
and
boys. Everybody
diversification,
listening.
man, it was crazy. And then diversifying the products you buy, like just not too long ago, I just bought some industrial cameras. Like I don't even
Bro,
know where they go.
I
Like,
I got stuff to say about cameras, dude. Like,
man, and I'm
we
I'm getting
both,
into those soon.
I
But
bought one the other
it's
day and I made $400 in profit off of it in 2 days. Like, it sold in 2 days. And I was like,
it's so
I
many
love
different
cameras.
products you can buy.
Yeah, but
So
I've
many
actually
products you
put
can
more
buy.
of a focus towards it now, where like I'm going after
Yeah.
my main goal right now is going after items over $1,000 and buying them for under a thousand
Hmm.
dollars and
Right.
higher ticket flips.
That's what I want to do.
It's
I
been
listen to a
fun.
lot of the guys on the podcast, and they talk about a lot of different stuff. Man, you got some heavy hitters on here. I do want to take a quick moment, man. The guys that do these podcasts, man. Shout out to every one of y'all. I like the guy that was in Tennessee, with the tattoo on his neck.
Yeah,
Said
Eric.
he had a store. I think he said his VA was Vaughn or something like that. I was so angry when the interview cut out at the end. I wanted to hear that last question so bad that you asked him.
Yeah, I know.
Um, shout out to Brandon, my guy on here. He drops a lot of games. Shout out to a lot of the different guys, the younger guys coming up. I was watching one of the guys yesterday that you and Matt had interviewed, and he had a fire podcast. I'm talking about it was crazy. Let me see if I can go back and find it. But
Was that Eric
um,
in Miami?
no, it
I've
was
had a lot of people.
Bryce. It was
Oh
Bryce.
yeah,
Bryce
right.
had a
Yeah.
fire podcast.
Yeah.
I actually want to connect with him based off of the podcast that he had. Um, but yeah, the repair expo was crazy too, the networking. But to get back to the story, so we can kind of finish out the timeline. Yeah, I went full time, man. I reinvested back into the course, and from that point, I just leveraged every one of the skills that you put in the course, and I went over the same information over and over and over and over and over again. When I had first got my first teammate, I put him through the course. I put him through the starter kit. I put him through the actual course, and I utilized that as a tool to train him as well. Um, so yeah, that's kind of how the journey began.
It's kind of cool how much has evolved. For everybody listening, if you're confused on what the starter kit is, that is now Buyback Academy, and that's actually what you unlock from the school course. So you can't just like straight up buy it now. It's actually you can only earn it, which is kind of where I'm moving everything. I'm moving everything to more of a we only work with people that put in the work type of thing. Just because I get
Hmm.
so many DMs at this point of people that want help, and I just don't have the bandwidth kind of thing. So just for everybody out there. Um, but
And to
dude,
touch really quick on that starter kit
yeah,
before you move forward, because I do want to touch. I wanted to touch base on the beginning things that kind of helped me through in the beginning because I realized that a lot of the guys on the podcast and a lot of people who speak, they speak to the beginners, and we also want to speak to the people who are seasoned and how to help them to get to like higher levels and stuff like that. But a quick gem of what really helped me in the very very beginning. Every day when I used to wake up and feel kind of discouraged, or multiple days went by and I didn't, like I said, I used to wake up and focus on the process, not the outcome. You focus on the roots and not the fruits. You cultivate the soil and the fruit will grow. You cultivate the soil, you make sure that you take care of the soil, you make sure it gets enough sunlight, you make sure you position it well, and you make sure that it gets enough water. It will grow and it will produce fruit. So don't worry about the fruit, which is the money. Focus on the foundation.
yeah,
And what I used to wake up and tell myself every day was, my customers are already out here looking for me. I just need to let them know that I'm looking for them as well. Once I understood that the business was majority marketing, you know, that's all I pretty much focused on. Now, granted, I will say you do have to focus on the operation in the beginning as well, because
yeah,
if you don't put some time into the operation and you only do the marketing, you'll run into issues what like me and RJ run into. We have so much hustle and bustle that we run and run and run and we burn ourselves out that we don't actually build an infrastructure that has the capacity for us to really scale. And we end up running into walls that we can't seem to, and ceilings we can't seem to break through because we never put a system in place that can handle the capacity of the new incoming leads from the marketing. So that's just a quick little tip, and we can kind of get into where I'm at now and how the journey's progressed and lessons that I've learned. But just for the beginners, man, definitely start to take that into consideration in the beginning. It's very easy to think small in the very beginning, but you have to start off thinking big. And that's what I feel like this podcast and guys like myself and other people who've been in the business for a while, you have to think bigger in the beginning. It looks very small and it seems like an opportunity that really can't be anything. But even after I hit a $13,000 a month, I still didn't necessarily see this as a big business or a big opportunity. I'm just now in the last year and a half, 2 years coming into realizing like, okay, this is a real business. And it's more about how I'm operating it. That's what's going to determine as to what it is. I had a guy tell me every business has the potential to make 100 million. It's just more so
yeah,
it's who, what, when, where, and how. It's who do I need to become every day? Who do I need to become that can be able to generate? It doesn't even have to be 100 million. Let's just say you want to do 12,000, 20,000 a month. Who do I have to become? That's the who. What do I need to do? What type of people? Who do I need to become, and who do I need to find to mentor me? You know what I mean? Who can guide me? Who can teach me? Who's already reached that level of success?
yeah,
After that, it's what do I need to learn? What are the skills that I need to learn? You know what I mean? What type of systems do I need to put in place? And on the who as well is who would I need as a team in the future? Because if you're thinking that you're going to do this business by yourself forever, you're not.
yeah,
If you want to get, if you just want it as a side hustle, side income for people who have a career and stuff like that, absolutely by all means. But we talking to the people that, like myself, who wanted to be full-time entrepreneur, don't want a job, full-blown business owner, and not want to jump in and do phone flipping and this and that. No, just electronics, by itself. I tell people that I run an electronics company. I'm not a phone flipper. I run an electronics company. So, you know, professionalism in the beginning is very important. So who, you know what I mean? What do you need to learn? What type of skills do you need to learn? What type of systems do you need to put in place? Who, what, when? When do I need to do these things? Like, when do I need to implement this? When do I need to implement that? You know what I mean? When do I need to go to this person? When do I need to go to that person? When do I need to slow down?
Yeah.
When do I need to scale back?
When do I
You
need to
know,
be
when do I need
patient?
to actually, exactly, when do I need to just, step back, analyze so that way I can reframe the business model, right? Or make adjustments. Who, what, when, where? Where do I need to go? Where are my customers? Where are they going? Where are they looking for these types of devices or looking for this type of information? You know what I mean? Where are they looking for me? Where are they looking for people like me? You know what I mean? What type of companies? Where are the companies that have bulk inventory that I can go and network with to try to, certain hospitals and things of that nature or whatever. Who, what, when, where, and how? How am I going to piece all of this together? And that goes back to the who, the mentor. So, just to touch bases on that real quick. I didn't want to, rant too long,
No,
but
it's all good, dude. Like, I mean, a lot of that, like, all of that is important. A lot of people, um, I'm in a stage of business right now with what we're doing, Resell Deck, Reccelerator, and everything, and this new marketing thing that and I've gone through this phase quite a few times now. Um, I have a very uh, so I have an issue with the shiny object syndrome when it comes to optimizing, right? Like if I got something working well, like and it's working really well, I always get that
mm-hmm.
thing in my brain. It's like, all right, well, how can I make it better? It's
Right,
not let's shove more volume through it.
yeah,
It's how can I make it better? And like that, like a lot of people don't realize like that is a problem. If it's working well and your conversion, if you're closing at 15%, it's not how can I get to 20? It's how can I get more people into it, right?
right,
That's the thing with this business specifically. Like if your closing rate on Google ads is 30% and your closing rate on Facebook ads is 15%, it's like you don't need to make your closing rate better. It's great already. You just need to put more people in it. And that's it.
yeah,
A lot of people focus on the wrong metrics. And this is honestly me talking to myself. Like um but like
man,
this is a lesson I've had to learn too many times at this point. So
yeah,
here's another really like key factor that I've learned is every single time you typically optimize something, you got to wait 90 days to see the fruit. 90 days. So, like, think about that on every decision you make moving forward that's not calculated. Like, you make a change, you got to wait 90 days to figure out if it worked or not. Like, and if you start
man,
doing stuff like that and thinking like that, it's like, okay, let me slow down here a little bit and like actually look at this process. And another thing I think with a lot of you guys, like Brandon talked about this on with the podcast with my students, where he talked about how he builds like a map of his business and like
mm.
and a map of his processes.
Org chart,
Yeah, I think a
org
lot of
chart. I had to create one of those as well.
yeah, talk
But
about
I've been
that,
had
dude.
that way back before. So if you can remember back when we started, you probably don't, but I've always had my business kind of broken down into kind of like a beginning to end, step by step format. I just didn't have it into the actual chart, but I had it into like, the business model, the product, the marketing, then the negotiation, and then the meetup, and then
Yeah.
the inventory, and then selling it. So I always had a step by step process, but it really just boils down to becoming more organized. You know what I mean? Like, and this is for anyone. It's not about new or older guys. Like I said, RJ and me, we talk a lot now, and well, not a lot,
Oh,
but
that's good.
we talk a little bit, and we've had calls and stuff like that together, and you
Yeah.
know, having that bad system and having bad organization, man, it's one of the most hindering things that to anyone. So yeah, having that org chart and being able to wake up every day and kind of see your business from a bird's eye view, and it helps you to make adjustments, and it kind of helps you to run diagnostics on the business. You
Yes.
know what I mean? It's kind of like you're able to run diagnostics. I can look at my org chart and I can look at the system of branding. I can look at my system for marketing. I can look at my system for um, uh, customer relations and, you know, closing and sales and things of that nature. I can look at my system for inventory management. I can look at our process for selling. I can look at our process for tracking accounting, tracking the finances, tracking the metrics and the data numbers, the sales numbers, and then also, you know, just, well, those are pretty much the main things. And then just being able to kind of step back and say, okay, well, I run through this. Okay, is there anything that needs to be done on this one today? Got you. So we have this, this, and this. And another good thing that I want to touch on when it comes to that is a great book recommendation. Traction. Traction helped me a lot when it came down to structuring my business, organizing my business, creating 90-day rocks for your company. You
Yeah.
know, if for anyone who hasn't read Traction, and I'm not a big book reader, to be honest with you, I'm a book summary YouTube watcher. You know what I'm saying? Like, so if you don't read books and stuff like that, go watch YouTube summaries. Like, you'll get the concept of the book and then listening to audios. But you know, being structured and having a actual um understanding the foundation of what a successful business runs in general. So we spoke a little bit about that at the expo as far as building your business in a way that you intend to sell it, even if you
Yes.
don't. Because if you do that from the very beginning, you know, then you automatically put in a structure in place that will inevitably lead to you having a full, smooth, functioning company or flow. Might not always be smooth, but you'll at least have a flow for how to have a strong foundation to run a real business. And
Yeah.
once you learn that, you'll learn that you can apply this to any business. Um, and it kind of minimizes just shiny object syndrome because you realize in every business, like you're going to have to do the same thing. In every business, you're going to do marketing. In
That
every
is a
business, you're going to do
very
branding.
good point. That's like, okay.
I
I want
learned that from Alex too. Alex Hormozy said that.
I
You know.
want to highlight on that really quick. Like once you actually take the time and build a business out that is actually producing, and then you get like
Mm-hmm.
this shiny object of like, okay, good example. I was looking at creating an AI marketing agency, right? I looked at it and then I was like, but I've already built this company. I would have to go
Mm-hmm.
through all the exact same steps again to build that one.
Mm-mm-mm.
And like I realized very quickly, I was like, nah, I'm good. I don't want to do that. I'm just
Nope.
gonna stick with
And
this.
and that's what kind of helped me to stick and say, you know what? Because last year I had invested about $5,000 into about $7,000 into a mentorship program, different mentorship programs, and trying to get into wholesaling, real estate. And I didn't do nothing with the information
Mm,
because this business was too busy that I couldn't even actually have the capacity to step outside of it and do anything. And then that's when I realized, okay, I'm left with two options. I can either turn this business completely off and start something new, or I'll have to automate, delegate, and put a system and a real operation in place so that way I have the capacity to do this. Obviously, I couldn't turn it off because I had already built this.
yeah.
You know, I appreciate this business a lot. It's changed my life, and I wanted to keep it going. And if anything, I wanted to leave it as an opportunity for maybe a friend, a family member, someone else that I'm close to be able to benefit from it instead of me turning it off. But I realized that when I started doing that, I was like, you know what? I'm running into the same stuff that I run into in my business. Like, I might as well stay where I'm at. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I might as well stay where I'm at because
Yeah.
I'm doing the same stuff over there. Like, and it's just yeah, it's just a lot. So, um, in my first real experience of being able to realize that I needed a team and that I wanted to start actually operating as a business was probably when I went to the expo in Vegas in 2023
Yeah.
because or was it 2024? 2024. I had a teammate at the time, and when I went out of town, you know, he handled a lot of my meetups. I literally made enough money within that 5 day trip that paid for my entire trip, his entire, you know, payment for the week, everything. You know what I mean? The ad spent everything. Had I not had him there, which this was my cousin at the time, but had I not had him there, I would have missed out on all of that profit. And that's when I clicked in my head, you know what? I can be able to travel because that was my goal and to get into the real estate. I was like, you know what? I want a digital business, something that's internet. I don't gotta, you know, I want to travel and move around and make money. But then
Yep.
I realized that, you know what? I can have that in this business. It just requires me to have a physical teammate, one or two. So once I kind of realized that, I said, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and lock in with this business, and I'm just gonna put the systems, the processes, and the team in place to be able to actually create this into what I want it to be. It wasn't the business that was the problem; it was me and how I was approaching the business that was the problem. That's why I wasn't producing what I wanted it to produce, which was flexibility
Yeah.
along with the income. So you know, then I realized, okay, well, now with having this guy, then you run into mistakes like, oh, well, he doesn't have a process every day of what to do. I still have to tell him to do this, do that, move around. So then you realize, okay, now I need a step-by-step process he can go through on a day-to-day basis. Okay, I need metrics for him to be able to hit. I need incentives for him to be able to be accountable. I need certain resources like text, messaging scripts or price sheets and things of that nature so he can be able to operate fully within his position. So me having a teammate and making mistakes and telling him the wrong things, sending him out on deals and him, not being fully prepared, all of these mistakes is what led me into, okay, well, now I just need to tweak that. Now I tweak this. Now I tweak this. And then you look up a year or two later and you made so much growth and progress. But it was all trial and error.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people in this business teach us how to operate it as a business. So I had to take a lot of tips that I learned from general business tips and general business skills and the foundation of that and apply it to the business and just go through trial and error. I
Yeah.
had to take skills from people who are running a wholesaling business or running a drop shipping or running a trucking company or different things that I've studied. And I just had to implement things from those companies and then just put it into my business and then, kind of just work out the kinks. So I think we got off track, but
No, it's all good. No, people
uh,
love that. Just kind of
you know,
curious. Because I know people are going to ask this question. Like, what does that look like? What does the breakdown look like of like pay structure for your partners, and what does that look like, dude? Because I know everybody's different.
um,
Like a lot of people come to me and they're like, "Chris, what do I do?" And I'm like, "Well, here's three different ways that I recommend it, but everybody kind of ends up finding their own. So I just kind of give them options. So what does yours look like?"
when it comes down to pay structure, it really just depends on the position. Um, like for my guy right now that works with me, he is more of a general assistant. It's kind of what I had to create his position to be. Originally, I had hired him to do eBay. Originally, I hired him to do eBay. I didn't want to post anymore. Posting is ridiculous on eBay. Like after you get to a certain level and you're doing wholesale and you're doing, so many other things, posting on eBay just becomes a hassle. Shipping on eBay becomes a hassle. Everything eBay became a hassle. So, I just figured, you know what? I was up to 1 in the morning, sometimes 2 in the morning, just posting after running around all day, putting it in.
Yeah.
So with him originally, I did a commission base. I wanted him, I pretty much kind of worked out like, maybe like $10 per device, $5 per device that he sold. Then I realized to myself when I started scaling, like $10 a device, and he's posting 20 devices a day. That kind of like what I'm saying. That's a pretty good amount of money. So I said, you know what? The commission structure may not work the best when it comes to this, and also it just limits his ability. So when there's no eBay to get done, it's like, oh well, we don't need anything. But I still have other things that need to get done. You see what I'm saying? So by me having him on a commission-based structure with eBay only, it really limited the resource of him or his ability to add more value to
Yeah.
me to be able to provide another opportunity for him to make money. So then I said, you know what? Okay, I'm gonna transition him into an hourly pay, and I'm gonna transition the position to general assistance. So now, if it's no eBay's to be posted, okay, well let's say we have meetups to go do. Now he can go and do meetups. He has another way to be able to provide value to me. I have another way to be able to extract value from him, and it's an equal symbiotic relationship. If it's no pickups to be made that day, maybe we have drop offs. We do have local people that we do business with and out of state. So, or maybe we need to do some shipping and things like that, package up, do some invoices. So I kind of just had to create his position to be a general assistant to prevent me having to hire 3, 4, 5 people, 3, 4 people, 2, 3 people, whatever up front. And to like I said, give him an ability to add more value to the business. So me personally, that's what works best for us. He's on an hourly basis. My goal is to bring him in full time by January. As of right
Yeah.
now, he's part time. So my goal is to bring him in full time by January. And as of right now, my job is to put the systems and the processes in place to ensure that the company is generating enough revenue and profit. I'm having a good tracking of the numbers, the KPIs. I have a good formula that I can be able to plug this in and say, hey, well, we should be spending this much on ads, getting this much from organic. We should be getting about this much on cost per clicks. We should be having about this much on sales, excuse me, um, your closing ratio. We should be making about this much profit per device, and we should be spitting out about this much according to that formula. So, having that in place, having good accounting in place is another thing that's very important for me to get in place. I had very bad accounting over the past few years. Like, I know I was making 6 figures, but I don't even know what I was making because I was so focused
Yeah.
on running, like I was going, you know what I'm saying? So I
And
wasn't even like,
it's a very like
oh my
you got to
God.
be very you got to be tactical with it, man. Like you got to like figure out where it can fit in your day. For me, what I found is I did it with meetups. Like if I was waiting on somebody, I would just do my accounting there. I was like, I need to do something.
Mm,
I need to do this, so I might as well do it here.
right. I had terrible accounting. Um, don't get me wrong, I had pretty good accounting. I had a decent inventory management and stuff like that. But what it really was is that my spending got out of control. That's
Mm.
another good tip for a lot of the guys. When you start to make more money, you really do start to spend more money. You
Dude,
may not think that you
lifestyle
do.
inflation. That's exactly what it
Man,
is.
my
Called
expenses are
lifestyle.
ridiculous nowadays. And it's not by force, but and don't get me wrong, it was very productive spending. After you get to a certain point, you want to get a life insurance policy, you want to get certain financial things in place, you want to
Yep.
make sure that your family is secure, you want to get a trust, you want to start doing different things, but these things add up. You want to start doing different things, getting your credit right, you want to keep investing in yourself. Of course, I invest in myself heavily. Since
Yeah.
then, I probably invested over $20,000 into my education out of pocket in the past, few years. So and all of those things begin to add up. You get a teammate, you have to pay them, your expenses for the business go up. I was having things that I was paying for in the business monthly that I wasn't even using.
Yeah.
I had wholesale for like 6 months, paying $200 a month. I wasn't even using. I was still using first week. You know what I mean? Like I have
Yeah,
phone
dude.
check. I wasn't even hardly using. Like I was doing, and I was too busy. That's what it really was. Is that I was so busy running the front end of the business that I couldn't handle the back end.
Yeah.
So it had to get to a point where I had to force myself to slow down, turn off the ads, turn off everything, and I had to just say, you know what? I have enough to be able to operate the company for about 2 months just off of reserves, and just to use that so that way I can actually get the operation in place. Once we get the operation in place, I know all of that is going to come back tenfold because we'll have the capacity
Yeah.
based on the operational systems we put in place, the capacity to handle more leads. We'll have a structured and more systematic approach to being able to manage and intake the leads. I wasn't following up with nobody for the past few years. You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
we'll have an actual system in place to be able to follow up. I'll have a system in place for my VA to be able to take calls and do messages and stuff like that, opposed to me doing it and missing leads. I'm running around 20 people. I'm missing this call. I'm missing that text. I'm hitting this person back 2 hours later. They're not responding. It just was ridiculous. So being so unorganized, after a while, you get to a point where it's like, I don't have a choice but to get this business in order, or you're gonna kind of lose your mind. So um,
Yeah, pretty much.
that was
Yeah.
important. But you know, having that structure and that organization is the key. But having my teammates in place and the pay structure, like I said, it really kind of just depends on what position they operate in and your revenue and what you need, your business model. For my business model, I'm trying to stick to the basics. I want to keep it very simple. I don't want to reinvent the wheel. I done tried this, I done tried that. I don't want to do it no more. Only thing I want to do is what works. I want to do what's got me to where I am, and I just want to do it on a higher level. I do understand that what's got me to where I am is not going to get me where I'm going, but
Yeah.
it's just small tweaks that needs to be made. The business model itself is solid. So, we just want to continue to do buybacks. We want to intake people. We want to buy devices. We want to, track everything properly. We want to follow up. We want to sell everything within a timely fashion. We want to build relationships. I mean, just keep it very simple. So if you have somebody who's doing, for example, like um, performance based work, then it's best to do a commission structure. But I just personally feel like hourly is better because you can be able to extract more value. You can have them operate in multiple hats because we know within this business, it's not always going to be eBay's the post. It's not always going to be this to do. Like it's multiple different things that need to be done. So if you're just putting one hat on one person and one hat on one person, what about when their jobs don't, you know, you don't have nothing for them for that, but you have a boatload of other things over here that needs to be done. And I just looked at it kind of like McDonald's. I mean, the person who runs the register, when there's nobody at the register, they wipe the floors, they go wipe the tables. If there's nobody wiping the tables, they'll go back and whatever. So that's just how I approached it. And that came from a mentor of mine who actually owns a store and he's been doing his store. He said when you have a smaller team, you just have to put multiple hats on people and they're okay with it. They can handle more than you think.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As long as the pay is proper, it's properly there. Speaking to your employees with your team with some respect is most important.
Yeah.
Speaking to your team with respect and being considerate of them. I ask my team, what type of things do you feel like, based on your experience that you see that we can improve on? I don't rule with the iron fist. I'm not disrespectful in any kind of way. You know, um, I come to them and I do extra incentives. On Fridays, I pay for lunch. I throw extra money in your gas tank. I do a lot of different incentives just to show them my appreciation. Show your team appreciation, and they will, reciprocate that. Speak to them with respect. If they're making mistakes, understand it is your fault, because if they don't have something in place that's helping them to hold them accountable, then that's not their fault, it's your fault. When my teammate does something wrong, I can't get mad and say, oh, well, why did you do this and why did you do that? If I didn't put something in place that was supposed to give him that guidance in that organization. Now, if he do something as simple as like, oh, well, he posted up an eBay and they put the wrong IMEI and the wrong name on the description, and it ends up selling. Now I have to go and do customer service. I have to tell the customer, hey, apologies. This was actually this device. We apologize for the inconvenience, things of that nature. And then I have to go and clean up the mess. That's on him. But, you know, you have to be able to take accountability as a leader. You have to study how to be a better leader. But respect and appreciation goes the furthest than anything else. You know what I mean? So that's one of the biggest things I learned. And I've almost lost a teammate due to, us having disagreements. Nothing crazy, but it was family. So it was a little personal involved.
Sure.
But having that team is important. Um, and yeah, that's been one of the biggest factors, honestly.
That's
Sticking
awesome.
with one thing has been important. Embracing your losses, embracing your mistakes. Embrace when you make mistakes and take losses. Because at the end of the day, it's just a lesson. Um, use the business as a schoolmaster to master the basics of running a business. You never know if you're going to be in this business or another, but if you master the foundation and the fundamentals of running a company in general, you'll never have to hurt necessarily for money or to have a company or to even have to start over, because you have the fundamentals. You're not just a phone flipper. You have to become a business owner. And it's a difference, because I'm transitioning from being self-employed to a business owner, by developing a team, by putting things in place that run opposite of me. With my business, you see a lot of my face over Facebook and things like that in my page. I'm in the process now of separating that for myself. I want to build my business in a direction to where it's scalable and it's sellable. I don't want to be the face of the brand anymore. You know what I mean? I don't want my face all over the customers' leads. I want my team to start taking photos with customers.
Good. Yeah.
I want to make sure that we have SEO and things of that nature in place. I want to make sure we have Google My Business in place. I want to make sure that we have a solid foundation for the operation of in a capacity to be able to intake more devices, process them, get them in and get them out within a timely fashion. Um, I want to keep things very simple. I want to keep good tracking of numbers, and I want to keep good tracking of finances. And I just want to keep it very simple. You know what I mean? The magic is in the work that you're avoiding. You know what I'm saying? The magic that you're looking for is
100%.
usually in all of the work that you're avoiding. So all of this has been extremely uncomfortable for me. It's been the most uncomfortable that I've ever been. It's more uncomfortable now than when I started. You know, um,
Yeah, dude.
it is, because it's scarier where I'm going, because now I'm moving in a direction to where people's livelihoods are going to depend on me.
Yeah,
So my performance
that's a
needs to be
change.
higher than ever, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure you felt that same pressure when you and Matt connected,
Oh yeah, dude.
because now his income is directly reflected of your skill sets, your ability to execute. Now I have to be even more of a leader. My teammates can't see me waking up late and getting there late. My teammates can't see me doing certain things. I have to have a structure in place. I was doing everything by memory of their time and stuff like that. No, now we have a system you can punch in and punch out. I can go through and I can review the time, and it issues and tells me exactly the time according to the ratio of the pay, and I know exactly what to pay you on a weekly basis. I do recommend weekly pay because it's just a little bit more of an incentive, and it's more of a dopamine hit. I love jobs when I used to get paid weekly opposed to bi-weekly. I hated waiting 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You know, um, those are good tips. Um, Stay uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Identify your pain points within the business. Recognize and really just sit back. I did that so many times, and I do it to this day. I write down everything that's the pain points. Those are the things that's going to give you direction. If you lost in one of those moments where you don't have direction and you don't know which way to go, identify the pain points, because they always going to tell you what to do. And then you identify the solutions,
Yeah.
and then you begin to implement them. Don't waste time. Don't play with it. Don't procrastinate. Just do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, just go ahead and do it. Please do not procrastinate. When you have a mentor like Chris, you have the team, you have the community. Utilize these guys. Utilize. That's something I fell short on. I didn't use the community. I probably never posted in the Slack. I don't watch the Slack. Had I been connected to more guys, I feel like I probably would have had a little bit more smoother of a journey and having more of a community. But utilize those tools. Um, follow the information to a T. I heard Bryce say that on the podcast the other day. Like, do what the work works. You know what I'm saying? Like the work works. Just do what they telling you to do. You know what I'm saying? Stop trying to reinvent the wheel. I listened to a lot of stuff you told me, but I didn't do it. I did the opposite. You know what I'm saying? Like, and granted, I did the opposite because I also have my own education, my own knowledge, but certain things is non-negotiable. You can't make up your mind when you want to track and when you don't want to track. That's not optional. You know what I'm saying? You can't make up your mind when you want to, follow a certain type of negotiation strategy. Like that's not optional. You need to have certain things that are not negotiable, and you need to have certain things that are flexible. But the foundational skills, you know what I mean? Listen to it, follow it. These guys know what they're talking about. They done spoke to multiple guys within this industry. Nobody's saying this for their health. We want to see y'all win. We want to see each other win. So I just feel like at the end of the day, you just got to get out of your own way, and you really just got to stay focused on your mission. You have to have that why. You have to have that mission. You have to kind of look at things from a bigger picture, um, and you have to move with a mindset of service to the customers and service to the people that are depending on you. These people come to me with money that need money to pay their bills, or their children will be in a shelter. You know what I mean? Like it seems like we just flipping phones, but we're making a bigger impact on people's lives than we think. And I let a lot of deals go. I buy a lot of deals and I break even on it, or even take a small loss just to help the person. But that comes back tenfold. Um, Another thing is don't let people force you within these deals, though. You know what I'm saying? Don't let customers force you and dictate the deal for you. I've had a lot of deals where in the back of my mind I said, you know what? That's too high. They too firm on the price. They won't budge. I still bought it and I lost money on it. It's okay to take chances on certain things if you know you can break even, but some deals you just gotta walk away from it. Like every deal was not a good deal, and I've lost a lot of deals also letting customers tell me like, oh yeah, well Eco ATM will do this or GameStop said they'll do this, and you don't even go check the price. You just give them the pay, and you say, okay, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and buy it, and then you go check Eco ATM later, and it's like $100 less. It's like, you know what I mean? So you do got to have a strong foundation within yourself. Um, and you have to have certain SOPs. I had a customer the other day who was a strong repeat. He asked us, hey, I have devices for you, but I'm out of town. Do you want to put a deposit on them? I said, and typically we only put deposits in situations where we are out of town or we're unavailable to secure, the deal. He never responded. And it kind of dawned on me like, oh, should I get it? Should I bend my rules? Should I do this? But when you start to operate as a company, you can't do that all the time. You have to you can't go in McDonald's and say, oh, well, can I get $5 off? Like you can't, they're not going to bend their process and their system for you. It's usually, it's good to have that case by case, but it just clicked in my head, I can't chase every deal and I can't satisfy everyone. I have to have a process that's repeatable, that's in place, that I can put my team on and they can be held accountable and know what to do. Because if you don't have that, then they're not sure what they can and can't do. They need to have boundaries. So those are a few just kind of
Any
rants
rules is where you start messing
and
up
gems.
too. Like a lot of people don't realize that. Like that's why I'm so kind of strict on the way that we have our processes is because they are proven, right? Like it's so
Right.
funny to me. Like sometimes we'll have people that like join, and usually it's in the lower groups. We don't usually have this problem with Reccelerator, but like people will join, and they'll be like, Chris, I set up your ads, and I I haven't made any money, and I'm like, you know what?
Mm-hmm.
Show me your messages, bro. Like there was one guy a while back. He I set up his ads up because he finished all of Buyback Academy. So I set his ads up in
Mm-hmm.
like 5 minutes and he got leads, right? And he's like, Chris, I can't close anything. And I'm like, he's like, the ads are bad. And I'm like, what are you talking? Ads are ads, bro.
Boy.
Like, ads are not what
Mm-hmm.
closes the deal. Like that. And for everybody listening, you have to understand that ads are not the thing that closes the deal. What did I do? Typical Chris fashion. I logged into his account. I went and I saw,
Mm-hmm.
oh, half of the leads are unanswered, number one, and the rest aren't followed up with, right? Or there wasn't a full conversation. Okay, there's something in the Reccelerator that I call a full conversation, like a full thing. Like you had the entire conversation all the way till the upsell at the end, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can't like leave the conversation half-ass, right? Because and that's what most people do. I'm just gonna be real with you guys. So I
For
logged into
sure.
his account. I closed an iPhone 13 on one of the leads in about 5 minutes because I had a full conversation. Like, and that's where most people mess up is like they don't,
Hmm.
and I'm seeing this a lot now with our school banning community is people half-ass everything, dude. Like, we've had
Yeah.
100 people join in the past week and like 30 made it through. Like,
Mm.
so that,
And and it leads to that. So we spoke a little bit before the call, professionalism,
yeah,
right? That's something that you wanted to touch on with me, or you had asked me about on before we started the call, and that's very unprofessional. You know what I mean? Like we don't understand that the way that we operate with a lot of people is just it's not professional. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
that's what your course and your programs and your trainers and other guys who are vetted and know what they're talking about. They teach you how to operate with a certain level of professionalism, right? My business took off to a different level when I used to meet people with basketball shorts on and a regular t-shirt inside of a McDonald's and things of that nature. I get a completely different energy from people. I've done business with people that you probably wouldn't even think,
yeah,
you know. And the biggest thing that they respect about me is my professionalism. I come off as a very much more mature and older person than I actually am. But the way that I carry myself, the way that you carry yourself as an individual, it speaks a lot in this business. These people do not know you. They do not trust you. I'm a black guy. I got dreadlocks. I got tattoos on my arm. All type of. These people treat me as if they would treat any any other person with the utmost respect. They call me sir. I'm just like, you older than me. You know what I mean? Like it's just
yeah.
crazy. So
Yeah, but
the way
like
that
your
you
shirt,
operate,
right? You show up, you got a nice watch on now. Like it's a different vibe, you know?
it's a
Like when I
different
show up
energy.
with a branded shirt, guys, like a
And
branded
my team has branded shirts as well.
see? Like so, but when you show up that way, you give out your business cards at the end. You give out three business cards or whatever, however many you give, right? You ask for referrals. You go through a full meetup, this is another thing, a full meetup. Like most people, dude, it's like most phone flippers act like this whole thing is like a drug deal happening, and
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
and you're going to attract a certain like type of clientele when you act that way as well. Um, and it's not always the right kind, right? Like I've been robbed at gunpoint because I did it wrong, because I broke my own rules. I bended my own rules, right? So
Man.
like when you do the things that we recommend, if you're just starting off, you don't have to have a team for this. You can meet people at Starbucks at 12 and 5 at whatever, right? That's how Ricky started off.
I
So
still
like,
do. I still meet at Starbucks.
yeah, see, so like, but whenever like a lot of, and let me define what a full meetup means because I just defined what a full conversation is. A full meetup is you close the deal, you send the location that you're going to meet up, like you send it. You don't just be like, hey, where do you want to meet? Right? No, you have to
No,
be in control of the conversation. Um,
absolutely.
whenever the
I
person
haven't went to
walks
no
in the
one in
door,
a long time.
yeah, whenever somebody walks in the door, you greet them. You compliment something about them, right?
You open,
So,
pull their seat out. If it's a woman, pull her chair out.
boom, right?
On the
So
way out, open, hold the door for her.
there you go. Yeah, see, Ricky knows. Like, Ricky, what's your full meetup look like, man?
So very simple process. I try to keep everything very professional. Whenever I'm sitting down with the customer, the first thing I want to do is I want to set expectations. Well, the first thing I want to do is greet them, obviously. So a typical meetup looks like, hey, how's it going? My name is Rick with G1 Tech. Well, this is a phone call. First off, this is like the lead up to that. You go ahead and speak to them, make sure you get their name, make sure that you connect with them on a more personal level. Hey, I didn't get your name. How's your day going? Such and such. Even if they jump into straight telling me about the device and all that stuff, hey, I definitely understand. Real quick, I didn't get your name. I'm sorry. What was your name?
Mm.
Okay, got you. Nice to meet you, Miss Kayla. How's your day going so far? If you don't mind me asking. Oh, okay, my day's okay, great. So I know that you said you had it. Okay, so now we go through the process and we actually schedule the meeting and we get to the deal. Once we actually get to the deal, the first thing I'm doing is I want to compliment them, and I learned this from you. I'm still in.
Yeah, yeah,
Got a
you're
call on
good.
Facebook, on FaceTime. So first thing I do is I try to find something to compliment them. Learn that from you. I speak to them. I ask them again, hey, how was the traffic? How's the weather today? Like, how's everything been going for you today? Such and such, you know, something like that to kind of break the ice, right? And then I say, okay, well, my name is Rick. G1 Tech is our company. We usually do a quick breakdown of the process before we get started. First off, we'll take a look at the device. We'll check everything out. We'll inspect it. We'll kind of go over some of the details. this isn't the verbatim, but generally speaking, we'll kind of go over it. We'll make sure everything is all good to go, and then we'll go ahead and get your cash, and um, pretty much get you on with your day. Did you have any questions or concerns for me? Got you. So I want to make sure that I go ahead and get any questions or concerns immediately out of the way. From that point, I say, okay, well, I'll go ahead and answer their questions. If they don't have any questions, I ask for permission to check their device. Can I go ahead and take a look? I don't just reach over the table and grab their phone.
No.
You know what I mean? It's very disrespectful. And sometimes you'll have people like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, so you want to set that expectations. Now what you've done is you've already introduced yourself. You broke the ice. You've presented yourself and pretty much introduced yourself as a company. Not, oh, I'm James and we sell phones. No, you know what I mean? My name is Rick with G1 Tech. This is an operation. This is a company. And a lot of these people, they'll think that you have a much bigger team and a much bigger operation than what you actually do.
Yep.
Um, and from that point, like I said, you go through the process of inspecting the device. You make sure to communicate with them while you're doing so. Um, and you go through the process, whatever your sales process looks like. And then once you close out, same thing. We really appreciate your business, such and such and such. When it comes down, I get a lot of photo reviews.
Yeah,
Uh,
you do.
some of this stuff I
Uh,
needed, some of this stuff I should have kept. You know what I'm saying, to put in a course or something like that. So they got to pay for it. But put this in your course or something, put me on the module or something how to do a meetup, because my meetup process is superb. But pretty much go through the process, and you just make sure that you answer any questions or concerns. You want to make sure to ask them that at the end of the meeting as well. Any questions or concerns at all? Okay, thank you. We really appreciate your business. You want to make sure to reiterate that you appreciate their business. Professionalism, it goes a long way. It's built us a lot of repeat customers. We get a lot of referrals. I've literally turned off my ads, and our business has been operating off of referrals for a while.
Heck yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just crazy. I didn't even know that my business could operate like that until I turned off the ads. If you can feel anxious thinking that your business is gonna fall to the ground. When I turned off my ads, I was pretty much doing similar numbers than when I didn't have it. That let me know that I was really wasting money on the ads because I wasn't closing. I was running around with repeats.
Well,
You know what I'm saying?
I tell
So
people this all the time. If you do 6 months to a year of good advertising, you don't need ads anymore. If you do it correctly, right? Like,
other than to scale, but if you just
yeah,
want to manage and maintain,
of course.
then
Yeah,
you
you
can
can
do it.
manage and
But
maintain a great bit. By the way, how we never even like went over this, but I know we're about to wrap up. But what are
yeah,
you doing per month now? Like, what does that look like?
like I said, we dramatically scaled back. So I was hitting a lot of caps due to the fact that I didn't have the capacity within the operations. My inventory management was too slow. I didn't have another person to help me do meetups. I wasn't following up with the leads quick enough. I wasn't responding. So because I was running around doing a bunch of other things. So really my revenue had kind of dipped because I hit a ceiling and I turned everything back, turned everything off. But I don't want to say too much on the internet. A lot of people kind of know in this area, but uh, definitely 6 figures. So
Okay, good.
so we were
I understand. Yeah, yeah. IRS has entered the
yeah,
chat.
yeah,
I
yeah.
get it. Yeah,
Oh man. And I'm always in a public place as well. But
yeah.
you know, um, yeah, that's why I speak so big on getting the operation down, because I could have hit much bigger months, but I didn't have the capacity to do it. So I just kept hitting the glass ceiling, bumping my head on the ceiling, and I just couldn't get through it until I just realized, you know what? It's not the business, it's not enough leads. It's just I'm doing something wrong. I'm doing a lot of things wrong. I stepped back. I had mentors that are teaching me and guiding me, and I'm just following that information. So
It's awesome, dude.
um,
Well, Ricky,
systems and processes.
I know we both got places to be, people to meet, and
Yes, sir. My guy's actually waiting for me.
dude,
Yeah, and
appreciate you
I
coming
got some
on. Well,
interviews.
we're definitely gonna do this again. Um,
Yeah, we didn't even really get too much deeper into my actual like a lot of different
yeah,
stuff. We
but
didn't get
I
into a
think
lot.
you shared a lot though that I think is gonna resonate with a lot of people. We're definitely gonna bring you on the podcast again,
Yeah,
because
for
this has
sure.
been great.
Yeah,
Dude, I really do appreciate you taking the time to come on this thing
for
and put
sure.
out all of that amazing information that you put out, dude.
Absolutely. I
This has been
appreciate you as well, man. This
I think
podcast is powerful, bro. RJ said this too real quick. If we would have had this in the beginning, this would have been so much better riding around doing deals, hearing this
I
information.
know.
Like it would have been amazing. But you and Matt is y'all doing very powerful work. This podcast is extremely powerful. Shout out to all of the guys who've been on the podcast. Their interviews are very inspiring. I definitely want to come back because there's a lot of stuff that I didn't get to say and we kind of bounced all over the place. But I definitely appreciate you, Chris, and I appreciate you teaching a lot of different things you teach and that you taught me. And I'm looking forward to getting back on and maybe even doing some business with Mercury Electronics soon.
Oh yeah, dude, let's go. All
For
right,
sure.
guys, this has been another episode of the Smart Flip. Make sure to like, subscribe, leave me some reviews on Spotify and Apple if you guys would. That'd be cool. And
Absolutely.
that being said, see you guys later. Keep crushing
Yes,
it.
sir.
Keep picking up those phones.